All right, so today we're diving into a real head scratcher.
Yeah.
Why are East African runners so dominant in long distance?
Especially from Kenya and Ethiopia.
Yeah, like we're talking Olympic podiums, world records.
It's incredible.
Makes you wonder if they have some sort of secret.
People always say it's the genes or the altitude.
Right, but it's got to be more complex than that.
It is.
That's what this deep dive is all about, getting past those easy answers.
Exactly.
We've got tons of research to dig through.
A lot of different viewpoints to consider.
So by the end of this, you'll be a total expert.
You'll be able to impress your friends with all this knowledge.
Okay, let's start with that whole super athlete gene idea.
Okay.
It's easy to think that Kenyans and Ethiopians have some special gene for running.
Right. They have physique, the
It
endurance.
seems obvious, but
Well, the funny thing is,
Yeah.
researchers actually looked for this running gene.
Really?
Yep. Published studies in big journals like the Journal of Applied Physiology and Nature. And they didn't find a single gene that was only in East Africans.
So no secret sauce in their DNA.
Nope.
That's surprising.
It is, but running ability is super complex.
Right.
It's influenced by hundreds of genes.
And most of those are shared by everyone.
Exactly. So even if some genes are slightly more common in East Africa,
Like for muscle fiber type.
right, or oxygen uptake,
Yeah, it doesn't automatically make them marathon winners.
it's like having a fancy sports car.
But not knowing how to drive?
Exactly. The potential might be there.
You need the right training
The environment culture.
to make it all work.
Exactly.
The environment's got to be huge.
Yeah,
And I'm not just talking about nice weather.
right.
Many of these runners come from high-altitude areas like the Kenyan Rift Valley.
Right.
What's going on up there?
Living at high altitude is like a natural training advantage.
Really?
The air is thinner, less oxygen.
So their bodies have to work harder.
Yeah, their bodies have adapted over generations in amazing ways.
Oh, okay. I'm hooked. Tell me more about these adaptations.
Well, they produce more red blood cells.
Those are the oxygen carriers, right?
Yep. And their cardiovascular systems become incredibly efficient.
It's like having a superpowered heart and lungs.
Exactly. And this gives them a head start in endurance events.
Wow, it's all connected.
Yeah.
And what about the whole running barefoot thing?
That's not just a story.
I didn't think so.
It really helps them develop strength and stability in their feet and legs.
Interesting.
When you run barefoot, especially on rough terrain,
Yeah.
it forces your body to adapt.
It's like their feet become these specialized tools.
Exactly. They're masters of biomechanics without even realizing it.
That's amazing. So we're seeing how the environment shapes their bodies from a young age.
It's this incredible mix of nature and nurture.
Right, but it's not just physical, it's cultural too.
Exactly.
In Kenya and Ethiopia, running is a way of life.
It's true.
It's not just a sport.
Right.
They run to school, they run
It's
errands.
part of their daily routine.
They're building stamina without even thinking about it.
Exactly. And it's not just anecdotal. There's evidence to back it up.
So their culture is like this built-in training program.
It is.
And they have incredible role models to look up to.
Absolutely. Like Kipchoge Keino.
Yeah, and Haile Gebrselassie.
They're legends who inspire entire generations.
They show that anything's possible.
And this creates a really strong support system
Oh, yeah.
with training camps, running clubs,
Yeah.
a real community spirit.
It's like having a whole team behind you.
Exactly. They share knowledge and motivate each other.
That's got to be a game changer.
It is.
But let's be real, for a lot of these athletes, running is also about economics,
Absolutely. It's a way to escape poverty,
to support their families.
to have a better future.
That's a powerful motivator.
It is.
And the global attention on East African runners creates opportunity.
Yeah. Talent scouts come looking for the next stars.
So success leads to more opportunity.
And that leads to more success.
But we can't talk about this without addressing the elephant in the room. People often frame this as some kind of racial advantage.
Right.
Like, being African makes you a better runner.
And that's just not true.
It's way too simplistic and kind of harmful.
It is. For instance,
Yeah.
did you know that most elite Kenyan runners are Kalenjin?
Really?
And many top Ethiopian runners are Oromo.
I didn't know that.
They're distinct groups with their own cultures.
So lumping them all together as African is inaccurate.
It is.
It ignores all the diversity.
Exactly. And there's also selection bias.
What do you mean?
Well, since so many runners from these regions compete,
Yeah,
it creates the illusion of a genetic advantage.
that makes sense.
It's not just about genes, it's about the sheer number of people trying.
So if we had the same level of support and opportunity everywhere,
Who knows what we'd see?
it's a mind-blowing thought.
It is.
But let's get back to those elite East African runners.
Okay.
They're known for their intense training.
Their discipline is incredible.
What are they doing that sets them apart?
For one thing, they run a lot, like 100 to 120 miles a week.
Wow, that's more than I drive in a week.
They often do it at high altitude.
It's not just about running a lot, though.
Right.
There's a method to it.
Exactly. They use a variety of techniques.
Like what?
Tempo, runs intervals, hill work.
It's all about building that endurance.
Yeah. And they're also really good at recovery.
Rest is just as important.
Exactly. They treat their bodies like high-performance machines.
So it's about training smart, not just hard.
Right.
And their mental game must be incredible, too.
Absolutely.
They push through pain and fatigue like it's nothing.
They've faced a lot of hardship in their lives.
Right, and that shapes their mentality.
It builds resilience and determination.
So we've got environment, culture, economics,
And disciplined training.
all contributing to this incredible phenomenon.
Yeah.
But what are some specific training methods we can learn from?
Well, one thing that stands out is their approach to easy runs.
Easy run.
Yeah, for a lot of runners, easy runs are slow and relaxed. But for many East African runners, easy runs are still pretty fast.
So they're pushing themselves even on their rest days.
It's about building aerobic efficiency without overdoing it.
That's impressive. And what about fartlek training?
Fartblick
It sounds kind of fun.
means speed play in Swedish.
Okay.
It's about varying your pace throughout the run.
So you're mixing in bursts of speed.
Exactly.
That sounds tough.
It is, but it's a great way to improve both speed and endurance.
So they're using a mix of traditional and modern methods.
They're taking the best of both worlds.
And it's working.
It is.
But there's one piece we haven't explored yet.
What's that?
The science behind their recovery.
Recovery is key.
They seem to have a natural understanding of how to rest and recharge.
It's an art and a science.
And that's what we'll dive into in the next part of our deep dive.
Stay tuned. Welcome back to our deep dives.
We're still digging into what makes those East African runners so amazing.
It's fascinating, right?
Yeah, we just talked about their crazy training schedules.
But they don't just go hard all the time.
That's what I find so interesting.
Yeah.
They seem to really understand the importance of recovery.
It's like they've mastered the art of maximizing performance.
And it's funny because in Western culture, we often have that no pain, no gain mindset.
Right.
We push ourselves to the limit.
We almost celebrate burnout.
But these runners, they know when to push and when to rest.
It's a balance a lot of us struggle with.
It's like they have this innate understanding of their bodies.
They know how much stress they can handle,
And they prioritize recovery.
which is so important but often overlooked.
So it's not just about being tough, it's about being smart.
Exactly. You got to listen to your body.
Yeah, tell me more about how they approach recovery, because I need some tips.
Okay, well, first of all, they prioritize sleep.
Sleep, that's a good start.
And not just a few hours. They aim for 8 to 10 hours.
Wow, okay, I'm already failing.
And it's quality sleep, too.
Right, it's not just about the quantity.
Your body needs that time to repair and rebuild.
It's when the magic happens.
Exactly. Your muscles grow, your hormones rebalance.
So no more late night TV for me.
Probably a good idea.
But it's got to be more than just sleep, right?
Oh, yeah. Nutrition is huge, too.
I figured.
Eat a lot of complex carbs, healthy fats, lean protein.
It's all about fueling those muscles.
Yeah, and they make sure to stay hydrated.
It's like they treat their bodies like temples.
They give them the best possible fuel.
But aside from sleep and diet, do they do anything else to help recovery?
Oh, yeah. They incorporate active recovery strategies.
What does that mean?
So things like easy runs.
Like at a conversational pace?
Yeah, gentle stretching massage therapy.
So they're still moving, but in a more relaxed way?
Exactly. They see it as part of their training.
It's not a treat, it's essential.
Right.
But here's something I've been wondering about.
Yeah.
We've talked about all these amazing factors,
Right.
environment, training, culture.
Yeah.
But some runners have access to all that and still don't reach that same level.
It's a good question.
What's the missing piece?
It might be epigenetics.
Epigenetics.
It's a fascinating field.
Tell me more.
So basically, genes aren't fixed.
What?
They can be influenced by things like the environment,
Oh, wow.
lifestyle choices, even cultural practices.
So your genes are like a blueprint, but the environment can change how they're expressed.
Exactly.
Wow.
That's crazy.
It's amazing. Think about identical twins.
Okay.
One grows up in Kenya, surrounded by runners.
The other in a city where running is just a hobby.
Even with the same genes, their athletic careers could be totally different.
Wow. So it's not just nature or nurture, it's both working together.
It's this incredible interplay.
It makes you wonder how much untapped potential is out there.
It's an inspiring thought, right?
Totally.
It shows the power of creating supportive environments.
where anyone can thrive.
Yeah.
But we can't forget about mental toughness.
That's a huge part of it.
These runners have this incredible grit and determination.
They do.
Where does that come from?
Well, think about the challenges they've overcome.
Right. Poverty, hardship, limited opportunities. For many, running is a way out.
It's more than just a sport. It's a chance for a better life.
Exactly.
So their mental toughness comes from overcoming adversity.
It's part of who they are.
It's not something you can just teach.
And their culture also plays a role.
In what way?
Well, running is celebrated there.
It's a source of national pride.
It is. They have these amazing role models.
Right.
It creates this belief that anything is possible.
It's like their culture gives them this mental armor.
It helps them push past their limits.
But it's not just about pushing through pain. It's
Right.
about enjoying the journey.
They seem to genuinely love running.
It's not a chore. It's a celebration.
Exactly.
You know, I've always been fascinated by that flow state
Flow state,
when you're totally absorbed in what you're doing.
like you're in the zone.
Yeah, everything feels effortless.
It's a powerful feeling.
And I wonder if these runners tap into that more easily
It's possible.
with their cultural background and mental training.
Imagine running through those Kenyan highlands,
Yeah.
surrounded by nature.
With a clear purpose,
It's easy to picture them entering that flow state,
transcending the physical effort.
achieving this mental harmony.
It's like they've unlocked a secret level of performance.
It's amazing.
But let's get back to the science for a second.
Okay.
We talked about epigenetics,
Right.
how the environment affects our genes.
Yeah.
Are there any specific genes linked to endurance in East African runners?
There's no single running gene. But some variations are more common in elite runners.
Particularly the collagen.
Yeah, one example is a gene involved in nitric oxide production.
Nitric oxide?
It helps with blood flow and oxygen delivery to muscles,
So these genetic variations could give them an edge.
especially combined with their environment and training.
It's like all the parts of their bodies are working together perfectly.
And don't forget the physiological adaptations.
The red blood cells, the oxygen utilization,
The efficient biomechanics.
it's all connected.
It's this beautiful interplay of factors.
It's mind-blowing.
It is.
But there's one more piece of the puzzle.
What's that?
Technology.
Ah,
We live in an age of GPS watches, heart rate monitors.
all this data tracking.
How are East African runners using these tools?
It's interesting.
I'm curious too, because they seem to have this natural intuition.
But data can provide valuable insights too.
It can reveal things you might not feel.
Exactly. So some elite runners have embraced technology.
They're using GPS watches, heart rate monitors, training apps.
They're tracking their progress, analyzing their performance,
It's like they're their own science experiments.
in a way.
But I'm sure some runners are more hesitant,
Yeah, they prefer the traditional methods.
relying on experience and intuition,
It's a clash of philosophies.
honoring the past versus embracing the future.
It's a dilemma a lot of us face.
And there's no easy answer.
The best approach is probably a balance.
Use technology to enhance but not replace traditional knowledge.
Exactly.
But speaking of experience, those Kenyan training camps are legendary.
They're amazing.
What makes them so special?
Well, imagine this.
Okay.
You wake up before dawn in the Kenyan highlands.
Beautiful scenery.
Fresh mountain air.
Sounds peaceful.
And you're surrounded by incredibly talented runners.
All pushing themselves to the limit.
It's an inspiring environment.
So their easy runs are probably harder than my hardest workouts.
It's possible.
But it's more than just the mileage.
Right.
There's this atmosphere, a
It's
philosophy.
a unique experience.
So they're learning from each other, from
Yeah.
experienced coaches.
Like a master class in running.
And the altitude must play a role too.
Absolutely. Training at altitude is incredibly beneficial,
It boosts your red blood cell count.
which helps with endurance.
But it's not just physical, it's mental too.
Pushing through those tough workouts builds resilience.
It creates this belief that you can overcome anything.
Exactly. And that translates to success in races.
So it's this perfect blend of physical, mental, and cultural factors.
It's what makes those camps so effective.
But they don't just train hard all the time.
Right. Recovery is crucial.
Okay. How do they handle that in the camp environment?
Well, it's built into their routine.
Okay.
After tough workouts, they focus on sleep, good nutrition,
Active recovery.
stretching, massage, gentle walks.
They know rest is essential.
It's not optional. It's part of the process.
So they've got this holistic approach to training.
They take care of every aspect.
Physical, mental, emotional.
Impressive.
But if we had to sum up all these insights into one takeaway,
What would it be?
what's the biggest lesson we can learn?
I think it's that human potential is limitless.
These runners are proof of that.
They show us that with dedication, the right environment, and belief in yourself.
You can achieve incredible
It's a
things.
powerful message.
It reminds us that we all have greatness inside us.
We just need to find a way to tap into it.
That's a perfect way to wrap up this part of our deep dive.
We've covered a lot of ground.
Stay tuned for the next part where we'll dive even deeper
Into the world of East African running.
Welcome back to our deep dive.
We're on the final stretch now.
We've covered so much ground.
Genes, environment, training, culture.
It's been a marathon of information.
But before we hit that finish line,
Yeah.
we got to talk about shoes.
Oh, yeah, every runner's obsession.
The eternal debate, minimalist or maximalist, barefoot or cushioned.
It's fascinating, especially when you consider how many of these elite runners grew up running barefoot.
Right. It makes you wonder how that shaped their running style.
And ultimately, their success.
There's actually a lot of research on barefoot running.
Really?
It suggests that running barefoot, especially as a kid,
Yeah,
can really strengthen your feet and lower legs.
that makes sense.
It leads to better stability and a more natural running form.
So it's like their feet are these perfectly evolved tools.
Exactly. They're built to absorb impact and propel them forward.
But the big question is,
What happens when they switch to modern running shoes?
right, do those barefoot advantages disappear?
That's the interesting part.
Yeah.
Some studies show that those runners can actually keep some of those benefits.
Even when they're wearing cushioned shoes.
Yep. Things like increased stride length and better energy efficiency.
Wow, so they get the best of both worlds.
In a way, the strength from barefoot running and support of modern shoes.
That's amazing, but I'm guessing it's not always that simple.
Right, the transition to cushioned shoes can also change your running form.
In a bad way,
Sometimes it could lead to more heel striking,
which isn't as efficient.
and it could increase the risk of injuries.
So it's a delicate balance.
It is.
It makes you wonder if there's an ideal way to transition from barefoot to shoes.
Maybe gradually increasing the cushioning over time.
That's a whole other deep dive.
It is.
But for now, let's talk about technology.
Okay.
All the gadgets and data analysis that have revolutionized running.
GPS watches, heart rate monitors, training apps.
How are East African runners incorporating these tools?
Interesting.
I mean, they have such a deep understanding of their bodies.
They do.
But data can add another layer of insight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
So some elite runners have embraced technology fully,
they're using all the latest gadgets.
tracking their progress, analyzing their performance,
Trying to optimize every aspect.
like they're their own personal scientists.
But I'm sure there's resistance, too.
Oh, yeah. Definitely some runners prefer to stick with tradition.
Relying on experience and intuition.
It's the old school versus new school debate.
It's a clash of philosophies.
It is.
How do you honor the past while embracing the future?
It's a tough question.
And there's no one right answer.
But maybe the best approach is finding a balance,
Using technology to enhance traditional knowledge.
not to replace it.
So it's a tool, not a crutch.
Exactly.
But speaking of experience, we can't forget about those training camps.
The legendary Kenyan camps.
What really goes on there?
Well, picture this.
Okay.
You wake up before sunrise in the Kenyan highlands.
Beautiful scenery.
The air is crisp and cool,
And you're surrounded by these incredible athletes.
all sharing the same passion.
The same drive.
They start the day with a long run,
A long run.
and they're not going slow.
So even their easy runs are intense.
But it's more than just the mileage.
What else?
It's the atmosphere, the camaraderie, the shared purpose.
It's like this immersive learning environment.
It's where tradition meets innovation.
And the altitude must play a role too.
It does. Training at altitude has huge benefits,
It increases red blood cell production,
which helps with endurance.
but it's not just physical, it's mental too.
Pushing through those tough workouts in thin air,
It builds this incredible resilience.
it shows you what you're capable of.
And that mental strength is key on race day.
It is.
So it's the altitude, the training, the community, the culture.
It all comes together to create these incredible athletes.
It's a perfect storm of factors.
And we can't forget about recovery.
Right. They make sure to rest and recharge.
It's part of their training philosophy.
So how does that work in the camp environment?
Well, they prioritize sleep, good nutrition,
Active recovery.
stretching, massage, even just walking around.
They understand that rest is essential.
It's not a luxury. It's a necessity.
So they're not just training their bodies, they're training their minds too.
It's a holistic approach.
But if we had to boil down all these insights into one key takeaway,
What would it be?
what's the most important lesson we can learn from these runners?
I think it's that human potential is truly limitless.
These runners are living proof.
They show us that with hard work, dedication, and the right support,
We can achieve incredible things.
It's an inspiring message.
It is. It reminds us that we all have that potential within us.
We just need to find a way to unlock it.
That's a perfect note to end on.
It's been a fascinating journey.
We've explored the science, the culture, the mindset.
The secrets behind East African running dominance.
We hope you've enjoyed this deep dive
And maybe you've even learned a thing or two.
about pushing your own limits.
And achieving your own goals.
Because as we've learned, anything is possible.
If you set your mind to it.
And who knows, maybe the next running superstar is out there listening right now.
Waiting to be discovered.
So keep running, keep dreaming, and keep exploring your own potential.
That's what it's all about.